This is Botswana, Africa. We're broadcasting from there for the first time.
We're in Botswana?
Yeah.
Okay. We're somewhere where I always have my have you ever noticed that Vera, like my last studio was in like the most contaminated part of Endicott?
Yeah.
So I always go to contaminated zones.
Yeah, for some reason.
To set up the studio.
There's some kind of symbolism there.
Some kind of symbolism?
Some kind of Freudian archetype.
So we got a lot of stuff. So do you want to talk about what just happened to you, or is you think that's personal?
I don't know. I guess we'll just talk about this stuff, but I really don't know. I just witnessed a car accident in the Four Corners of Dimmock, and I was following a car of somebody I know, and her son was driving under a permit, and so he stepped on the gas instead of the brake as he was making the left turn at the Four Corners, and the car accelerated, and he lost control of it, and it hit the corner of the building on the corner of that intersection. And I witnessed the whole thing, and then I had to stick around and talk to the people. I took a few pictures, and it was just sad to see a car totaled, and there's of course no insurance on it, no collision, and this poor family is struggling, and so I feel bad for everybody. They seem to be okay. You know, they have some bruises. Both airbags went off, and so everybody's there, the fire department, the state police. They're taking care of things and writing a report. So now I'm trying to recover from that, so now I'm here. It's just a shock.
But this is just one in like this long stream of super intense experiences for you.
I guess for me, maybe I've met a lot of people, but it's just one thing after another. My son's in the hospital, so I just came from that a couple hours ago in Binghamton, New York. Checked on him, and now I witnessed a car accident. Thankfully, nobody was seriously hurt, but we're all kind of in shock. And now I'm here, and then I have my usual documents and information.
You find the most amazing stuff. You know, people say I'm a good researcher, but half of my stuff comes from you.
Yeah, so then I've been doing Right to Knows for years, since this one is from 2013.
So you started looking for something that I asked you to look for, and you came across this.
Right, you asked me to look for, what did you ask me? I forgot.
For the determination letter for Ray.
Oh, determination letter for Ray. So I couldn't find that, but I did find a Right to Know. Which camera am I on? I can't tell.
Well, this is the camera that you're on. This one is.
I know, but am I looking at this one?
So
if I'm looking,
you ought to be able to figure it out, right? So actually, no, I take it back. It's this one. Duh.
that one?
You're this one right now. Here, I'll give you this one. So now you can talk to this one's closer to you.
So I found like a Right to Know for Ray's determination letter that I asked for maybe over a year ago, and I never got it. And I don't know why exactly I didn't get it, but I did send one in. So I was looking through stuff. I have piles of papers and envelopes, manila envelopes. This is from the DEP, so I found this one, and it said water supply replacement letters. This is what I asked for. I asked for water supply replacement orders from the DEP for residents in Pennsylvania, and this was in 2013. And I wanted to know how many people were getting replacement water. So they sent me this packet, and look at this pile of papers.
Oh my God! So let me.
Can you see it? This pile of papers.
I'm going to put it over here so you can see. Can you kind of see yourself there?
Kind of, yeah. Oh, yeah, now I can see myself.
Okay.
So this pile of papers is about 2 inches thick, or 1.5 inches or something. And it happens to be, I had, some time now to look at it more closely. When it came in August, I think, 2013, what's on the, I believe it's August 2013, I was busy with my own lawsuit, Cabot suing me, trying to get a permanent injunction on me, and that was overwhelming and stressful. And one of my friends, Mark Rosenkrantz of Montrose, had committed suicide in August 2013.
Right.
August 11th. and I was overwhelmed and devastated by that. He happened to be a former partner of my second daughter. So, and I knew him for several years, so he was like a son-in-law. And then, so I didn't have a chance to really look at this stuff. And so now I'm looking at it, and I read on all of these, consent order and agreement. And the first one I see is Chesapeake. Chesapeake having violations from the DEP for violating the Oil and Gas Act and the Clean Streams Law. And this is for several townships: Tuscarora, Terry, Monroe, Towanda, and Wilmot townships in Bradford County. So this was across Pennsylvania, and this is May 16th, 2011, this consent order. So we have a consent order after DIMIC. DIMIC's consent orders were in 2009, I believe, and 2010.
So, wait a sec. So I have a question for you. So, let me do this.
And I thought it was funny. I have to just say something funny.
Yeah.
Because everything that happens is not only can be disturbing and shocking, but it also can be funny. It's like a cosmic joke.
It's a cosmic joke.
So one of the names here that's people who are contaminated, this happens to be unredacted.
Oh my God.
Everything is unredacted with names and addresses. In 2013, DEP was not redacting yet, and then they decided to redact, I think, after that time. Mm-hmm. So I have some right to knows that are not redacted. So one of the names here is Luce, L-U-C-E, and I thought that was a little funny. That's the last name of my grandchildren, the last name of my former son-in-law from our county, Susquehanna County. So I don't know if they're related. They might be related. Everybody's related out here. So I thought that was kind of a little humor there.
So let's can we talk about, because I don't think there's probably a lot of people out there that don't really understand what these consent orders are all about.
Right.
Now, there was actually 4, I mean, the ones that, among us that know about this, we've been talking for years about these 4. We used to say 3, but we just discovered a 4th one.
4 for DIMIC, you mean?
For DIMIC.
DIMIC.
So explain what a consent, what was the whole thing about the DIMIC consent orders? What were the years? Explain that.
Well, I'll try to explain it. It's basically after all kinds of contamination and water contamination and violations that a DEP assesses on a gas company, which happens to be Cabot in this instance for DIMIC, but it actually says DIMIC Springville on the consent orders. DEP then presents some kind of an order which outlines the damage, all the people involved, what laws have been broken by the contamination, and what they require from the gas company to remedy it, if it can be remedied, but what they require. Like here it says they have to supply water, they specify what kind of damage has happened to that group, what at the time period, whether new wells have to be drilled, whether what kind of water has to be supplied, in what way, what kind of fines are involved. Like this one for Chesapeake, then the company has to sign it. DEP signs it. All their lawyers have to sign this and agree to it at some point. So they have to resolve things by a certain time. There may be, like here, let's see if there's any kind of other information. But it's a whole thing of several pages. This one happens to be, with Chesapeake, it's about 24 pages. DIMIC must be at least 20 pages also. Civil penalties, like here, there's a penalty for Chesapeake, $700,000 for the violations set forth that happened in 2010. From what I can see, dates are 2010 in Bradford County, the next county west of us. And besides that civil penalty, there's a well plugging fund they want Chesapeake to donate to, $200,000 to that. And if they fail to comply, then there's more penalties. More civil penalties. This one, like $1,000 per day. If they fail beyond this,
1,000 per day.
Yeah, 1,000 per day. and if they don't finish everything or fail to comply with any provision of this consent order, and in addition to other applicable remedies, shall pay a civil penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we call a consent order. And looks like, I thought at one point maybe Dimick had the only consent order in Pennsylvania. So when I asked for this, now I find about 21, or let's say 20 or more, consent orders for the state of Pennsylvania that were released to me because of right to know that I wrote to the DEP. And my right to know was written August 7, 2013. And I basically asked for, please send me any records from 2006 to 2013. And for water supply replacement because of gas drilling activities in any county in Pennsylvania. So they responded and gave me, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 counties that were impacted with this group of papers. And I also, which I object to also having to pay for these things. Our taxes pay for the DEP. They pay for all the officers, the whole organization. We, the citizens. Then when we ask for copies of documents that are public documents or should be public documents, we are then assessed like 25 cents a page plus postage. So they gave me 269 pages of material. It came out to $81.56. Postage is $14.31. Why should I, the citizen, have to pay for this? Why don't they just give it to us? Our taxes are running this whole organization. Mm-hmm. So that I object to that. But
So, but this is really, and I think it's an amazing find, because I've been doing. This is what I do. I do collect documents. I scan them, put them online, organize them. I've been doing that a lot. I've been chasing down the Dimick history for the past 6 months. And so you didn't even ask for this. You asked to see how many people are on replacement water.
Right, and that there was an order. I heard there was water replacement orders, but it looks like they're part of consent orders. I didn't know that.
So we thought all along that the only consent orders we knew about that existed between PADEP and the driller, which kind of aggregates together like a whole bunch of different contamination cases. Is that right? These are all aggregates of, like Dimick is 19 families, right? This Chesapeake one, how many people are involved?
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 townships. So I haven't counted all the people involved.
5 townships.
5 townships are involved.
Uh-huh.
So there's several people in each group. So several roads, sections. I recognize some of the names from the past that I heard. There were newspaper stories or YouTubes about these areas. The Sugar Run area of Wilmot Township. Paradise Road area we heard about. I went to visit that, I would say, in that time period, 2013 or earlier, and met the families there and heard their stories. So you have all this going on.
Isn't that ironic? I love that Paradise Road. These people, and it was so beautiful. That one house that I forget the name, McMillan. What is it? Something.
There's some kind of a name.
He built such a beautiful house.
Yeah, beautiful homes.
Young couple.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of beautiful homes on that road. All modern, all expensive looking. Micken, yeah. And then there's the Spencers, the Phillips. That was in 2010. It happened.
I put that house in the MLS from Hell, that joke thing that I did.
Oh, yeah.
And when I went over there, it was so creepy, Vera, because it was wintertime when I drove by there. And the first thing you notice is there's no mailbox. So it's like, it looks like a normal house in every way. It's just still standing there, and but there's no mailbox. See, for me, that gave me like it was like a chilling feeling. And then you see that the driveway isn't plowed, because nobody lives there. It's like they sort of keep it up, right? They sort of, in the summertime, they mow the lawn.
Oh, you mean after the family moved out? Because the families lived there for a while with water deliveries and with vent stacks for the methane. And then Chesapeake bought the properties in a settlement,
Mm-hmm.
and then the families moved out. So I guess they're still being maintained. The homes are being. And you went what year? You think that you saw no families there, no mailbox?
Well, it was after what's the date of the settlement agreement? Is that the one? Are you looking at that one right now?
Yeah, I'm looking at that one right now. That was May 2011.
Oh, you're not on this shot at all. You're covered up. I'm going to have to, go back to this one.
May 2011.
May 2011. So it was after then, probably 2012 that I was there.
Yeah. And I could see now the Dimmock, Springville consent order, about the same now on the pages, 18. The Chesapeake one is 24. It's even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of an area, actually. 2 townships in the Dimmock one with Cabot. And they gave me all the consent orders, at least.
So
There's several consent orders with modifications.
So the stuff you've been looking for up until now, it was
4 of them here. I have 4 here, actually.
most of the documents that I've seen you getting, and Barbara Arundel from DCS collects a lot of these. It's the what do you call them? It's the determination letters. Explain what those determination letters are.
Now, there's also, when there's water contamination and there's been an investigation by the DEP and the gas industry, at some point the DEP files and compiles a determination letter, and that they discuss what they determine in the investigation. So they may determine that gas drilling has impacted the water. They will state that, and they will state what are the different elements that they found that were above the allowable limits and that were higher than their pre-test. Some people had pre-tests before drilling, so they'll tell you what were the things that they found that were a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll say, we determined the gas industry has impacted your water, and they may say that you need to have water replaced, you need to have a vent stack. A vent stack is on top of your water well, a pipe with a vent to release excess methane so you don't have any explosions. Since we had one explosion before we had vent stacks here in Dimmock at the Norma Fiorentino's house in 2009.
Now, I've seen those things called like a Section 601.208 determination letter, and that was the ones that were before 2012. Now they call it a Section 3218.14.
Yeah, they changed the numbers.
Because of Act 13.
Could be, I don't know.
But basically, there's a section of the law that started out being the 1984 Oil and Gas Act. Let me see if I can take a shot of this. Stand by 1 second. Yeah, there we go. So this is the sections and excerpts of the 1984 Oil and Gas Act. Maybe people can read it better if I do this. And because this spells out, like, if somebody calls the PADEP for a complaint, they're supposed to get the well operator, supposed to, let's just read it. A well operator who affects this is the current law, the amendments, the 2012 amendments to the Oil and Gas Act. A well operator who affects a public or private water supply by pollution or diminution shall restore or replace the affected supply with an alternate source of water adequate in quantity or quality for the purposes served by the supply. So, and then down here it talks about a landowner who suffers pollution. You should notify the department, which is the PADEP, right? And they shall investigate. An investigation shall be conducted within 10 days. Notification of the department shall investigate, and within 45 letters issue.
45 days.
45 days. What did I say? Yeah, 45 days following the notification. So that's when they have to issue the determination letter, right?
Oh, that's what they say, but I always find they take much longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen. Yeah, I guess they might do it within 45 days, but they seem longer than that.
I just wanted to point out this is the law.
This is the law.
So, but all along, that's what you've been asking for, because this is the record. These are the records that we've known existed. Was these determination letters, and then we also knew that there were 3, now 4 consent orders for Dimmock.
Right, 4 of them at this point.
But now, just like, and you made this request, what, In 2013, but
2013.
you had a lot of stuff going on in your life at the time. It sounded like,
Yeah, a lot
right?
of things going on, and I'm so busy with this. Besides,
You're so swamped. So you just you had this envelope full of stuff. You just like you know.
Yeah, here's the envelope. It looks a little bit ratty.
Craig jokes around. He says, you put your computer monitor on top of it to raise it higher or something.
Oh yeah,
and
but it was in a corner with a bunch of papers. I found some other papers too.
So I'm asking you about this other thing, and you start looking around, and you find this treasure trove.
Yeah, this was shocking.
And unredacted.
Unredacted. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that's pretty intense.
So we're gonna scan this stuff. We're gonna have a scanning party and get this stuff online so people can look it over.
Right. We have people looking this. We can look this over.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised to find another consent order from my county, which I didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Rush Township consent order of 2010, August 2010. And it's with a gas company that I'm not really familiar with. This one I didn't know. Stone Energy Corporation. That's another gas company that operated in my county.
Huh.
Prior to 2010, looks like in 2009, they began drilling in September 2009 the Stang well, which I don't have no familiarity with. I got to look that up and get more information on that well. So now I thought we had 7 gas companies operating in our county. Now I have to say 8. Stone Energy was in our county.
Huh. There must have been just a wildcatter, right?
Yeah,
Just some small operator, small-time operator.
Let's see. Stone Energy sampled the former drinking well located at the Clinton property. So the owner who had water problems was Clinton.
So it was the Stang oil well.
Stang oil.
On the
Stang gas. It should be gas, I guess. Stang gas site.
Sometimes they call that the farm name, right? That's the farm name.
Well, the owner of the property must have been a Stang. I never even heard of that name.
Yeah.
This former drinking water well was located 661 feet from the Stang 1 well.
Oh, that's close. That's within 1,000 feet.
Right, within 1,000 feet. They're usually automatically determined as the gas company's fault.
Well, if it's a vertical, the Act 13 modifications were, there was no mention of a horizontal well prior to Act 13. So Act 13 was just a vertical well, and if you were within, what was it, 1,000 feet of the vertical well, and then now for horizontal wells, they added, what did they make that, 2,500 feet, right? That's the presumed liability distance for horizontal wells after Act 13.
After Act 13.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So how many would you say total you have in that big 3-inch stack or whatever?
20, about 20 or 21. I have to count again. So this one I have to look at more. So we have several counties, several townships. What did I say before? 11 counties and a whole bunch of townships in there. Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania. So this is the story. So we've had problems since 2009 at least. I think some of them are earlier even.
Now, are they all?
Here's 2006.
So are they all in Northeast PA? Or
No, Western also. This is McKean County, which is Western PA.
Mm-hmm.
This is 2006.
What? That's when fracking first got started. That's when
They started earlier, I believe, in Western Pennsylvania. So 2006, they knew there were problems. And they're still allowing this industry to operate in my state of Pennsylvania. 2006, there were problems.
And that's what this big story that Melissa and Josh at Public Herald were trying to show, right? They uncover, I love it, 9,442. I should make a graphic of that.
Almost 10,000 complaints from citizens all across Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. And that's been going on since when did their data set start? 2004?
Was it 2004?
I think, 2004. So here's my question. They clearly, Vera, explain that to me.
DEP knew there's problems since 2006 or earlier.
Yeah.
Our governors knew there were problems
Uh-huh.
since that time or before of Pennsylvania. And they still continue to allow this industry to operate. It has thousands of DEP violations, over 1,000 violations just in my county since 2008. So they allow it to continue to operate. Why? Why would they do that?
That's my question for you.
Why would they do that? And they're supposed to protect us. How are we protected with that kind of an approach? I don't feel protected. I feel basically, we're guinea pigs and being sacrificed to this industry. Why is this happening? They should have closed down this industry and told them, look how many years, how many thousands of violations you have, how many thousands of complaints, how many millions in fines, how many consent orders all across the state, how many determination letters all across the state indicating water contamination.
So here's the Public Herald article. Hidden data suggests fracking created widespread systemic impact in Pennsylvania. I love that because that's riffing on what? The EPA. Didn't the EPA in their famous, was that the 2003? When did EPA come out and say there was no widespread or systemic impacts from fracking?
Well, that was recently, maybe 2016.
Was it more recent than that?
Yeah, more recent.
Let me look at just for that. Let me look for EPA.
And it looks like there's problems not just with gas. Some of these orders also include oil. Western Pennsylvania has had issues with oil drilling besides gas. So they had oil drilling before gas drilling, from what I can see. They've been having problems for decades. And they're not letting people know the extent of it. This all should be public information on their website. We should be able to get all this so everybody knows exactly where the problems are. So if you live near it, you want to know, where are the problems? Where are these plumes, contamination plumes? I want to know. And then if anybody else wants to buy a house in the area, they should have access to this information. Real estate people should have access. They should have it all marked off. This is a contaminated area. Here's another contaminated area. If you buy a house, it's at your own risk. But you're being informed. So not only do we have casing problems with the wells, the gas wells and oil wells, we also have spills that have happened, all kinds of spills, and that has contaminated our water, our aquifers. And of course we have loads of non-disclosures and gag orders, silencing the affected people so they can't reveal to the world exactly what happened. They can only talk for a while until they're gagged. And when they receive a settlement of some kind from the gas industry, they get a gag order and they're silenced. And what good is that? This should be a safety and health emergency, that people should know about these things and not have to find out 10, 20, 30 years later.
So, Vera, the EPA reported in, I have the date right here, so it's June 5, 2015, and this is one of my biggest moments here, that EcoWatch, Josh Fox wrote an article on EcoWatch, and he shared my map. This is my map right here of Susquehanna County, and this is long before we had Melissa and Josh's 9,442 data set. I was working with, this was just Laura Legier's data set of around 1,000, I think. It was just over, or maybe 987, something like that. I forget the exact number that they found, but these were determination letters that they had seen. Now, they weren't all positive determination letters, but I consider just looking at the number of complaints, to me, that's a more realistic.
Now, your map involves 6 counties.
I just pick, because
you have 6 counties there, so they found, what, 1,000 or more
I think
complaints or determination letters of some kind?
I think in this map shows 313 complaints. And I only took it down to the granularity of the township level because the exact addresses were all redacted.
When you say 313 complaints, are you saying for 6 counties or 1 county?
Well, okay, so for all 6 counties, there's 313 complaints really represented on this map.
On that map. Okay.
So like yellow means it was a township that had 1 complaint. So a yellow was a township that had 1 complaint. And then like red this is a little hard to see. The resolution on this particular version of this graphic is hard, but I think it's like, say I did 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So this was like 17 to 32, the darkest red. Like here's Dimmock right here. So Dimmock and Springville both had 17 to 32 complaints in the Laura Legier data set.
And Laura Legier is a investigative journalist that worked at the Scranton Times paper for a while,
Yep.
and also
Mm-hmm.
she's now working, maybe freelancing, and also working in the Pittsburgh area.
Pittsburgh area, yep.
So we have all these complaints and problems, and they're still operating freely in our county, and we still have complaints even up to now.
And
So some people like to say this happened years ago, and it was resolved,
right.
and improvements were made. That's what some of my pro-gas legislators like to tell me. But they still have problems even now, ongoing casing failures and spills, and methane migration and contamination even as of the past month or two. So up to 2017. So, and you know, we have legislators that complain about the DEP. When I tell them we have DEP data, they will also disregard that, fluff it off, and say they don't respect or appreciate what the DEP does in determining any kind of cases. So they feel that the DEP data is unacceptable. So if you're pro-gas, whether you're a governor or a legislator or a citizen, you will only accept data that your particular interest is leaning towards, or your bias is leaning towards. You won't accept all data. So DEP might be scratched off and say, oh, that's no good. So what data are you going to accept? Your own personal data? What can you accept? If you say DEP is no good,
How can you say
and EPA is no good, they also like to then disregard EPA and maligned EPA. So DEP is no good, EPA is no good. So then what data would you accept? You mean just the gas industry data?
There's so much data, though, Vera. So much. Look at the stuff you've uncovered, Melissa and Josh have uncovered, Laura Legier has uncovered. A mountain of data is showing that the DEP knew, the government knew. Now, let me show you. Can I show you a controversial picture, a picture that might bring up some controversy?
Like, you mean the one that's up right now?
Like, what? Can you explain to me what that is? What is this? What is this photo?
Well, that photo, it's been doctored up. The faces have something added to them.
Well,
But that's a picture of several people with this is pre-Governor Wolf.
you want me to find the original?
The original. Wolf was running for governor. While he was running for governor, he came to Dimmock, to the house of one of the members of Dimmock, who has their water contaminated, and is part of the consent order. And he came there for a private meeting with about a half a dozen people, residents in the area, and wanted to hear their stories. And I believe he also said that he was going to do something about it if he becomes governor. He didn't even notify, he's a Democrat, he didn't notify the Democratic Party in our county. I'm registered as a Democrat. He didn't notify the head of our Democratic Party. He just snuck in with no media, met these people, and then snuck out. So when I heard that, that was already a red flag for me. I say, what kind of person is this? Why don't you just come in and find out the facts and what's happening?
So who is the most well-known sort of tour guide in this area, in the Susquehanna County area? As you know, somebody that's really given hundreds of gas well tours, and from a citizen perspective, who would you say is the most, the person that's done that more than anybody?
I would say I've done the most tours.
Right.
As far as I know, I've done hundreds of tours.
So
Other people have done tours too, so I don't want to
I'm not
regard them. We have other citizens who have done tours over the years since 2008, I guess.
I know, but I'm just right.
I would say
I'm not,
I have done the most, and I've had to go to court several times because of my involvement in the tours and exposing this industry and taking people around and showing them the sites and talking to supervisors and managers and to learn what's happening and to get evidence of any problems from the landowners who've been affected. So this is
Okay, so this is
an
the
ongoing saga.
this is the unedited photograph.
That's
So-
the unedited photograph, right?
All right, so there's the. I didn't. What am I doing? There it is. That's the unedited photograph.
So we have 6 people with the future Governor Wolf.
Here's Governor,
name-
future
this
Governor
is
Wolf,
Tom
candidate,
Wolf,
candidate
Tom
Wolf. Yep. And these are all. Several people here are really impacted persons. We have one. We have I would say 2 people that are kind of like maybe not. Well, no.
2 are impacted with water contamination.
Right.
The others are impacted. Oh no, 3.
3.
3, and then I don't know. Recognize the woman that's next to Scott.
Oh, that's. They say this is Jean Carter.
Oh, I couldn't recognize her. Huh?
It doesn't look like Jean to me. I know.
Yeah.
It's. I wasn't.
Well, maybe it's. Let's see if as we get close. Oh, maybe. Yeah, as you get closer, maybe. Yeah, could be.
But
Yeah.
but now you
It's
so.
been now what, a few years.
But so when you were saying Tom Wolf should come here and just really take a tour, so he didn't. Did he?
As far as I know, he didn't take a tour.
He didn't take a tour. You weren't. You weren't contacted by Governor Wolf's
No,
office.
I wasn't
You
contacted.
weren't part of this meeting. You weren't invited to this meeting.
No, I
What about
wasn't.
Craig Stevens?
He wasn't invited.
What
either.
about Ray Kemble, who was
No.
delivering water to all these different people at the
No,
time?
he wasn't invited either.
Oh.
This was a private meeting set up by the residents, one of the residents there,
Mm-hmm.
and they met with Governor Wolf, future Governor Wolf.
Future Governor Wolf, and
And
you
they
think
had their hopes in the future, Mr. Tom Wolf. They had hopes in him that he was going to be different than the previous governors, who were, I believe, all Republican governors. And he was going to be different, and he was going to actually do something, and hear their stories, and believe them, and actually care enough to resolve this issue and protect the citizens.
Mm-hmm. So and
He turned out to be
so we
a
had
disappointment, big disappointment.
Ed Rendell was a Republican.
Are they all Republicans?
Then we had Tom Corbett, who
Corbett.
was Republican, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so we sort of, I guess, expect the Republicans to be pro-drilling, right?
Yes, they kind of respected that. They're
And then
very
Tom Wolf?
pro-business.
But we didn't have any we knew Tom Wolf's character, right? There wasn't any good candidates on the slate of Democrats. They were all pretty pro-drilling. Did you know what I mean? Right?
No, it wasn't clear. Tom Wolf was not clear that he was pro-drilling. I don't recall that. I don't recall that he was clear.
But he's a big
he's a big businessman. He's very pro-business. A lot of these guys are pro-business.
He loves XNG. He tweeted about XNG.
Well, that's later. That's later after he became governor, but not at that time.
Not at the
Before,
time, right?
When he was running, and people were wondering, who's going to help us.
I was just going to the complete disappointment. Why was he a complete disappointment? Well,
He's a disappointment.
he loves pipelines. He loves Cabot. He and his lieutenant governor love Cabot.
I don't know if they love them, but they support them. And he was a disappointment because he turned out not to be able to help any of the affected residents, to reveal the problems and to promote the information that water is being contaminated. And besides that, air is being contaminated by all the dozens of compressor stations, gas compressor stations, that need to be built in order to process the gas and compress it and send it out of our counties through all these transmission lines.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the sad story. And now he's running again. When is he running again? Is it
This year, yeah.
He's supposed to run again this year. So I don't know what our alternatives are. Who else will be running? And we're basically at the mercy of the gas industry, the oil and gas industry.
Uh-huh.
So not only do they seem to have such a strong influence in Pennsylvania, they also have a very strong influence on the federal government level. So we have all these different consent orders. Let's see. How many counties? Jefferson County, Forest County. It goes on and on. Susquehanna, Bradford, Jefferson County again, McKean County,
Yeah.
and it just continues. This one is a really big one. It's 30 pages or more. This consent order. We have also consent orders for solid waste management. Companies that try to do something with the waste. The intense waste. This is Forest County also. You have tons of solid waste per gas well that needs to be dealt with. Millions of gallons of liquid waste per gas well that needs to be dealt with. Here's 2012 and Elk County. That sounds like Western PA. Warren County.
So this is
McKean County.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have Indiana County.
So this is what I wanted to show you, Vera.
So
Let's
some
see
of these just say order on them.
Uh-huh.
Well, maybe some of them are just orders. Looks like water supply replacement order.
Yeah.
2006, they're called orders.
Mm-hmm. So can I show you something really quick? It seems like that is, I'm hearing some distortion. So this is, there we go. This right here is, let's look at the YouTube channel that it's on, first of all. This is
Lieutenant Governor.
Lieutenant Governor Mike Stack at Think About It. And it's on the Cabot Susquehanna. The Cabot is promoting Governor Wolf's Lieutenant Governor Mike Stack, right?
Right.
Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you're going to love this, Vera. Check it out.
So there are many points of view and many factors we should consider. For me, I would say that the bottom line we want is what George said.
George Stark.
We want to create jobs, not kill jobs, and we want to create a better business climate.
We don't want to kill jobs, Vera. You don't want to kill jobs, do you?
I want non-polluting jobs, non-dangerous jobs,
Right.
non-risky jobs.
Right.
Jobs are not the only thing here. They have to be certain type of jobs.
And not a weaker one, while developing energy, and of course, there are some catchwords that you hear me say, in a responsible way.
Yeah, we got to do it. We just got to do it responsibly, Vera. It'll be okay.
Yeah, well, they've been trying to do responsible, but we have thousands of violations and thousands of complaints that continue to this day.
They've been trying to do it responsibly for 10 years, 12 years, longer, right?
Yeah.
When was Ron Gould as well drilled?
We have Armstrong County with problems, 2006.
But this is my support for this assertion that if Governor Wolf is sending his lieutenant governor to stroke Cabot,
Is this
that it's in the long-term interest of the Commonwealth and all its people. We are blessed right now with
We're
rich
blessed, Vera.
deposits of natural
We're
gas
so blessed.
that we can tap
I
by
don't feel
drilling into
blessed.
the Marcellus Shale, and that's really just the beginning.
You don't feel blessed by
No,
all that?
I don't feel blessed when I see all this pollution and contamination.
What about the money, though? Don't you feel blessed by the money that's
No,
making
I'm
us
not
rich?
blessed with the money, and I know loads of people with royalties. They don't feel blessed either. The basic average royalty is under $100 an acre. So if somebody thinks that's a lot of money to sacrifice our environment, our water and our air, and our health, I feel sorry for you. I don't consider that a lot of money. How much is clean water, clean air,
Priceless.
and our health worth? I would think it's worth so much more that it's priceless, beyond estimation. And right now, they're dangling these little royalties in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about small amounts of money, unless you have loads of acres, hundreds of acres, then that can add up. We have about 1,000 farms in my county. Those would be the biggest acreage
Mm-hmm.
And that's only 1,000. So how many families does that involve? Let's see, 1,000 families. We have 45,000 people in the county. So maybe 10% or less are making some big bucks from this for a time until the wells start to run out of gas, and they get less and less every year. So you have less than 10% of the population being involved with this, and then the rest of the population is not benefiting much at all, but we have to endure the brunt of the impacts, the negative impacts to our environment and our health. So this is a big problem. I don't think we can sell ourselves for such a low amount, and we shouldn't have to sell ourselves at all. Industry should not come in here dangling promises of extreme wealth. Like this house I'm in here right now has how many acres here? Maybe 6 acres?
Yeah.
6 acres in Dimmock. They were promised $17,000 approximately a month in royalties. That was dangled before them as a carrot. Please sign, the gas company landman said. You can make $17,000 a month. Was that true? Not at all. Wasn't even close. They're lucky if they had even 1% of that, which would be $170. They didn't even get that. Per acre. Right now they're getting nothing. And they haven't been getting any royalties for years. I know families in this area who have 20 acres and they're getting maybe $20 a month. At this time, after the wells were drilled in 2009, 10, 11.
Vera, explain to me this. What's this photograph all about? This has been doctored, but explain to me.
Now, the lieutenant governor that was mentioned in that video, is that the one we have now, Michael Stack?
Yeah, it's the same one. Yep.
Same one?
Yep.
So this video just shows that our
This
dear
photo.
Governor Tom Wolf came and did another visit to our county. This time, I don't think it was announced. Maybe it was announced in the paper. I can't remember now.
I don't remember how we found out about it.
I
but
forgot how we
got
found
a
out.
tip.
Somebody told me. And he came to visit one of our hospitals that Cabot had contributed about $2 million to.
Mm-hmm.
And Cabot has their name on it, on the medical building part.
Mm-hmm. The Cabot Hospital. It's not the Cabot Hospital, but it's damn near.
So Governor Wolf came to Montrose to our new hospital that was built. It cost about $48 million to build it.
Mm-hmm.
Cabot contributed $2 million. And Cabot loves to parade around like a very proud rooster that they contributed and did so much
They did
to
so
make this
much.
possible. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, most of the money came from other sources.
2 out of $48 million.
Yeah, 2 out of 48.
So basically about 5% maybe. They contributed 5%.
Yeah.
So 5% gets you a wing named after it.
The 5% gets your name on the
Oh
building.
my God! So this was.
And this was, Governor Wolf came to visit the hospital in 2017 of September. And it was a nice private visit. None of us citizens were able to be on the visit except certain ones that were invited from organizations. And of course, none of the citizens who have been protesting and exposing the problems with the industry.
I heard
they were not on the tour.
I heard he was courting Republicans. He was trying to get Republicans to go for his wellhead tax.
Well, that could be. There were Republicans there.
And then who's this is you.
That's me there.
And then who's the guy?
He's a special police officer
for governor.
For the governor.
And then do we want to say, do you know who the young lady is?
And the young lady is a resident of our county who's been involved with the gas industry.
She's been an impacted person. And she was just trying to talk to the governor too.
Right. We tried to talk to the governor. We weren't able to. I got close, and they told me to leave. So we sat in the waiting room.
Very mellow little crew. There's maybe 5 of us there, right? 5 or 6. There was a nurse there from Tammy was there, right? From the PSR, Physicians for Social Responsibility, or the Southwest PA.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Environmental Health Clinic.
Environmental Health Clinic. Yeah, she was there.
So Governor Wolf snuck in, and he had no Democratic leaders with him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the Democratic leader Rick Aney of our county was not invited and was not present. So I find that very bizarre and strange and telling. So now I can't tell the difference between a Democrat and a Republican, because a number of the Democrats act like what the Republicans are acting like. So is Tom Wolf really a Democrat, or is he a Republican in disguise? I really don't know. I mean, the way his actions are, it's very confusing.
What do you think about this one?
And that's an injury of one of the residents there.
And this actually connects to the Cabot Hospital, right? This person was a gas industry worker, and went to the hospital to wasn't actually taken for 2 hours until after the injury. Had a traumatic head injury, life-threatening head injury. Hand was all scraped up in this motor vehicle accident, and was taken to the Cabot Hospital. First thing that Cabot did was what? Or first thing that the hospital did, the Endless Mountains. I shouldn't call it the Cabot Hospital. It's the Endless Mountains.
Endless Mountains.
First thing they did was make the person take a urine
medical
test for a drug test, right? Not really give them, hey, you have this traumatic head injury. Maybe we should treat you for it. No, it was like, pee in a cup.
That's what they do now, because any kind of an accident, especially even with in industry accidents, they're going to make sure they get the urine as quickly as possible to see if there's anything in there that might have contributed to the accident.
They want to find a way to fire the driver rather than look into other maybe extenuating circumstances.
Well, that's the start. They start with that, and then they further the investigation. So they have to start because, maybe your body will metabolize as much as it can. Let's say alcohol was involved in the accident. That can be metabolized pretty quickly.
Do the doctors take a Hippocratic oath to actually help people, or do they take a Hippocratic oath to drug test them as soon as they hit the hospital floor? It just seems to me like that's contrary. The first thing that we should be doing for these people is getting them critical care for their trauma. Look at this. This person was let go of the hospital looking like this. They didn't even clean out the wound.
They didn't do anything at all, you're saying? Absolutely nothing?
Well, they didn't do nothing, but they let this person go with...
I'm sure they did something with the wound.
They did something, but...
I would say that they did something. There's some kind of gauze on her hands. Something was done.
So anyway, but there's a lot of impacted people in this area in Susquehanna County, Bradford County, that have tried to approach the. I don't want to show this one. This is a little bit too weird.
So we have also consent orders from Center County.
Center? Uh-huh.
In Pennsylvania, Fayette County, 2008, Indiana County, 2008. Indiana County 2008 and Indiana County 2008. So, sadly, this is what's going on in my state, in Pennsylvania. And one day, I suppose, justice will be done fully, and we'll be free of this scourge. But still going on.
Do you feel like there's any kind of a breakthrough that's coming anytime soon?
There might be a breakthrough, maybe with the Ray Kemble case, and all the information is coming through on that case.
And do you want to talk about?
And I have a case pending also with Cabot. They claim I intentionally trespassed on November 28th on a Cabot leased road in my county, in the Kingsley, Brooklyn area.
And it's a brand new charge of some kind?
It's a brand new charge.
Is it an old case that they've just...
Well, it's a pending, I have an injunction, so it's a pending case of some kind, but this is a brand new charge.
It's a brand new charge,
it's a contempt charge. They claim I broke my permanent injunction.
It's right, but it's from the thing I was getting to was it's from the 2013. Cabot had a lawsuit against you in 2013.
Yeah, and then I have a final injunctive order
It's the
final
beer.
court order from 2015.
It sounds to me like judge-made law, right? It's like they've the judge says it prescribed some kind of like buffer zones around you, right? You can't go near within 100 feet or something.
Yeah, at this point I can't go within 100 feet of Cabot installations and within 25 feet of their lease roads.
And did they give you a map of the lease roads?
No.
They didn't tell you where the properties are?
No, they didn't tell me all the properties. They have over 90 lease roads in my county. They told me some of their owned properties, about 10 of them, and the others are basically, I don't know all of them, no.
And they're all clearly marked?
Right now, they're clearly marked for the most part.
Now, where you were, was the signage clear?
No, the signage where I was this last time, they added some new signage, and it wasn't clear. It said all traffic turn right, so that was confusing, and the road that I turned on looked like a regular county or township road. Road. It was a dirt road. Many of our roads are dirt. So
you didn't know you were on a lease road necessarily.
No, I didn't know I was on a lease road.
And you had a filmmaker with you at the time.
Yes, I had a filmmaker, journalist with me at the time.
Yeah.
And she was videotaping and photographing.
Videotaping the whole thing.
Because I was doing a tour for hours from that morning until the afternoon. That was the last item on our tour. That area where we saw water trucks running on the road. And we went in that section of the county, which I don't go to too often, so I'm not that familiar with that part of the county.
So what are they asking? What kind of damages do they want from you?
They want $5,000 penalty assessed for criminal contempt.
Criminal contempt?
Not criminal, sorry, civil contempt.
Mm-hmm.
Civil contempt. And then they want court costs and legal fees. So that could be who knows how many thousands. So I have a hearing scheduled for, at this time, February 7th. And I have to answer their allegations, so I'm working on a response.
At 9 in the morning?
No, I think that one is later, maybe 1, if I remember right. I think 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it goes. We have a new judge compared to my other appearances.
So, okay. So are you optimistic about that?
I have some optimism that the judge will be fair and not biased towards Cabot and their lawyers.
And then Ray Kemble has an appearance before the same judge. Well, he has a lawsuit.
He doesn't have another hearing, does he? Scheduled?
I don't think there's one scheduled, but there's going to be one scheduled coming soon, I would think.
Yeah.
But so, for people who don't know, give a quick synopsis of Ray's case.
So Ray's case is basically Cabot suing him and his former attorneys, his last attorneys that he had, the Spear, Charlie Spear, and his co-partners, and they've been sued for $5 million, and they claim that Ray broke his settlement agreement, his non-disclosure, and that he filed a frivolous lawsuit with Charlie Spear and company, suing for additional damages, additional water contamination, new water contamination that has happened since his last settlement, which was, I believe, in 2010 he had a settlement, or 2012, 2010 maybe?
Ray had a settlement in, well, right, the consent order was
2010.
Was 2010. The settlement was like 2 years later. It was
2 years later,
2012.
2012.
Late 2012.
Yeah,
Yep.
2012. Okay. So now the judge has taken off the $5 million. We had a hearing for him. Was it in December 11th?
Yep.
I believe. And then the Judge Legge, took off the $5 million penalty request that Cabot promoted and proposed. So that was helpful. And now lawyers have come forward who are representing Ray, and they're writing responses, I guess, and briefs to the allegations by Cabot's attorneys. So we'll see how that goes with the next hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. So I was just gonna try to call something up really quick. So anything else going on that we want to discuss here?
I guess not. I mean, I did find some other things that I want to check out. I found some old videotapes, and I wanted to, from my old cameras, I was videotaping since 2008, this situation, but I was doing videotapes of other topics and issues before 2008. So I found some new tapes that I want to be able to get on YouTube and put on DVDs if possible, but it's from old cameras that I'm not using anymore.
So we had to find you had to find a working like FireWire camera, right?
Yeah, so I have that. So we're going to see if we can put that together. Some of the tapes I found were involving John Hanger of the DEP, the former head of DEP, and Scott Perry, who is still the assistant to the director of DEP, and residents of Dimmock who came forward in this meeting at a church, at the Methodist Church, which was in 2010. So do you want to look at that now, or how's that?
Yeah, we can. Why don't I turn off the live stream so that we can do that? We've got some stuff to do. I just wanted to mention really quickly that a couple of things. First of all, this is something I've been working on. If I can call it up. Get rid of that. So this is, I call this the Rogues Gallery. So we've got like we've got state actors at the top, and we've got industry actors at the bottom, and maybe some individuals at the bottom. And it's a work in progress, but we're trying to identify like the major government players that were involved in, because it looks to me, Vera, like there was actual criminal conspiracy and negligence on the part of, and maybe collusion on the part of government officials. Is that strong language? Public corruption, that's what some people...
Well, it's strong language. I'm not able to use that at this point.
So Rendell, Corbett, Wolf, we have Lisa Jackson, Gina McCarthy from EPA, coming down to the DEP secretaries, John Hanger, we have to name him. Mike Krancer was an right? He started out as an environmental hearing board judge, then he became the DEP secretary, and then he went back to his law firm, Blank Rome. Now, what do we know about Blank Rome? How does Blank Rome connect to you?
Well, Blank Rome is suing me right now and suing Ray with their attorneys who are Cabot attorneys.
So the same law firm where Mike Krancer, former DEP secretary, now works, is involved in suing you on behalf of Cabot Oil and Gas, right?
Yeah, Blank
Rome. Yep.
Or Blank in Rome. How do they?
I think it's just Blank Rome.
Just Blank Rome.
And then look at this. This is what jumped out at me, Vera. So like, you know, a lot of these administration people have changed back and forth. Like look how many DEP secretaries we've had from, you know, until the present. Patrick McDonnell is the current DEP secretary. But look at this. Look at this guy.
Scott Perry's been there the whole time?
He's been there the whole time. So has, I think S. Craig Lobbins might have just retired.
Oh, you mean he did? Maybe.
Or Mark Cooley. One of those two just retired. But
Mark Cooley retired.
They've
been here from the beginning
S.
that
Craig
I've been
Lobbins,
involved.
Stacy Gustafson, I think.
I don't know that name.
I think that's an attorney. We got Mike O'Donnell.
He's been around from the beginning.
He's like a well inspector, right? Or he's the regional director.
Regional director. Jennifer Means has been around.
Jennifer Means, her name is on some of
Kevin
these.
Kevin Augustine, I think he might have recently retired. He's been there for years.
No, he's still in there. He's still in there? He's the emergency manager, yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, we're assembling kind of a list of rogues that were involved in this. I also wanted to just show this really quick that, so I've been working on this thing I call the BHDCS DIMIC archive. Actually, so let me go to this one first. This is what I call. So let me just show you how to get there first. So I don't know why that's not working. There we go. Now let's just make that big. Can't make that one big. Let's go to this one then. All right. So there's the link. There's the URL. tinyurl.com/bh. I think it's BHDCS. I think I boogered that link. Let's try it here. tinyurl.com/bhdcs DIMIC timeline. No, it's not. It's just, sorry. I was right the first time. It's just BH DIMIC timeline. I should trust myself, Vera.
Yeah?
I always try to. Do you ever second guess yourself?
No, I don't remember that.
So it's BH DIMIC timeline. So what this is, if you want to go there, you can see I've put a lot of work into this. BH DIMIC timeline. This is official documents. Let me try that again. TinyURL BH DIMIC timeline. This should work. This is going to be embarrassing on the live stream if I can't get this to work. Okay, so here it is. It'll take you to a Google Doc. So this is what we have, Vera. We have all these dates starting back from 1984 Oil and Gas Act. We have 2006 Cabot spudded. What was the first well they spudded in Susquehanna County? Horizontal well. Do you know? I think it was.
I don't know, Teal or Ely?
You got it. You got it right. Teal number 1. First unconventional well in the Marcellus. Cabot's first unconventional well. That was September 2006. Then here's Ray Kemble. This is the focus is on Ray Kemble in this whole thing, but this just shows the whole history in terms of official documents, including the consent orders and including videos from Energy in Depth and different lawsuits, critical dates in these lawsuits. So this is a very detailed. I've been building this for 6 months, Vera. This is a whole history, legal history of the whole DIMIC situation. So that's kind of exciting. The other thing I wanted to tell people about was this one does have DCS in the name, BHDCS DIMIC archived. It's actually bit.ly, bit.ly/BHDCS DIMIC archive, and that takes you to my Dropbox account. This is where it takes you. So you first have to click on Enter Archive right here. You can read me. This explains what the archive is and how I created it. I'm grateful to Damascus Citizens for Sustainability for helping to host. They help with the hosting costs of this archive. And then this has the consent orders. This has the 1984 Oil and Gas Act, and you can see how it was modified in 2012 by Act 13. Here is all the papers having to do with Ray Kemble's federal lawsuit that was filed in April of 2017. That was a big part of his present SLAPP suit. Cabot v. Kemble, this is the present SLAPP suit. Here are some documents related to your case with Cabot. Cabot v. Vera Scroggins, that was the 2013 case. There's Constitution Pipeline stuff. So there's lots and lots and lots of official documents here. There's I'm going to eventually get the entire Don Hopi archive, which is 30 gigabytes. But right now we have maybe 10 gigabytes up there right now. So let me come back to you. So let's wrap up the live stream and get to work on some of the documents that we were going to get to work on. And thanks for doing the live stream and catching us up on your case and Ray's case. And telling us about some of the trauma that you've been going through in your life, and difficult experiences. And I think you're hanging in really well, Vera. I really appreciate your friendship and your courage and all the good work that you do. And okay, do you have any final words that you want to say to anybody before we sign off?
Yeah, I guess just appreciate compiling as much documents as we can to keep a running history of all this that's happened in this area plus other areas, and that we'll need it to show the impacts that are going on, and eventually we may be heard, and eventually we may be fully protected so that we're not continue to be impacted. Because when I drive through the towns in my county, I see all the water trucks. I saw a bunch yesterday. I went to Lenox, went to go out to dinner with my sister and brother-in-law, and we came out, and there's all the water trucks passing by, and sand trucks, and that was in the evening, about 8:30 at night. So they're still going on. They're still drilling, fracking, impacting the earth underneath. And they just keep expanding and industrializing this whole county besides other counties. And it's sad to watch and disturbing. So I hope one day to see that this stops, because it's not really good for us. It's good maybe just for the gas industry. It gives them whatever money they're looking for. I don't even think they're getting as much money as they would like. That's why they shortchange a lot of residents on their royalty checks. There's all kinds of lawsuits from landowners in Bradford County and in our county for royalty deficiencies and lack of proper royalties. Landowners are supposed to get at least 12.5% of the profits, and a lot of them are not getting that. And the gas industry has all kinds of excuses, like we have to take out all kinds of costs that they're trying to cover themselves. So now we have lawsuits in the course for years, and some settlements have been made, and more lawsuits from the Attorney General, Shapiro, coming about this issue, complaints from all over the state. So it's a sad story. Promise of tremendous wealth, people hoping to somehow earn a bunch of wealth from their land and their resources, and then finding out that it's basically a false dream.
It's a false dream. We didn't even talk about the Delaware River Basin stuff. Do you want to mention that really quick?
Delaware River Basin, I went to the first hearing last Thursday, I believe. And that was in Waymart, Pennsylvania, near Scranton. Delaware River Basin had public hearings, several of them.
That was Wayne County?
I don't know if Waymart is it Wayne? Wayne County. And I went there and gave testimony about what's happening in my county, Susquehanna County. So about maybe 50 people testified, something
Do you want to play that really quick? I can play it. Do you want people to hear it?
We could, and it's I did that, and people are concerned. There's some kind of a ban right now, or moratorium in the Delaware River Basin for several years. And now the Delaware River Basin, I think, wants to expand it to a permanent ban.
Well, that's what
and also, is that what they're saying? The permanent ban was a moratorium, and but they included in that ban for some reason, which I don't understand. Maybe you might know. They would allow water to be withdrawn from the basin and imported from the into the basin, wastewater imported into the basin, concerning fracking. Frack water to be imported, water for fracking to be exported. Why they would consider that? So we addressed that also. We would like to have a permanent ban in the basin and no water to be dealt with around the fracking issue. Mm-hmm. So why would they allow that? Do you know? Why would they even consider that?
Well, because with these laws, there's almost always compromise, between
they're
the two
compromising.
sides. Yeah. So a ban is really easy for industry to give in the Delaware River Basin because the chances of fracking anywhere in the Delaware River Basin is, in my opinion, and what I've studied, very low, very remote.
Remote, yeah, because there's not that much gas in that whole area.
There's not that much gas in the Marcellus or the Utica, Wayne and Pike County, and that's what they were talking about. They were talking about the ban originally. They were talking about just a ban in those two counties, but then Craig Stevens came along and said, you got to watch the South Newark Shale, which is down in Berks, Bucks, and Montgomery County, PA. And they're building a new pipeline down through there, too, the Adelphia. They're actually converting, it's not new, it's not a greenfield pipeline. They're converting an existing oil pipeline, I think, to natural gas. Coincidentally, by the way, there had been a ban on the South Newark Shale. That ban has just expired December 31st, 2017. So all this is kind of adding up. It's a little kind of weird, right? Because there's this big fight going on, even though the actual chances, the actual prospects for fracking in the Delaware River Basin are kind of remote. But then there's this thing about the water. Maybe it's about the water. I don't know. And
but why is the water? That's a compromise, you think? That they offered, they said, well, if we can have a ban in the whole area. Are they asking for a ban for the whole basin?
Well,
or just part of the basin?
Well, I think all of the NGOs, they want to ban in the entire basin. But another one
as far as the Delaware River Basin Commission, do they want to ban in the whole basin? That wasn't clear to me.
It wasn't clear, and the materials that they released, I don't think it was clear because they were talking like it was only going to be for 2 counties.
Maybe 2 counties.
So why not? Yeah.
So then they're compromising about the water and saying you can take our water, you can bring in waste. What do they want to do with the wastewater? If they bring it in, are they going to somehow dump it into the Delaware?
Yeah. Well,
are they going to somehow process it?
Well, it's going to go through municipal sewage treatment systems, which is not designed. They did that in Pittsburgh, and it screwed everything up.
Well, what they might bring in is what has been recycled, possibly. Maybe they think they're bringing in recycled water that they're recycling.
So it's super concentrated then, if it's...
I don't know. They're recycling, and then they can... they've already processed it. We have a processing plant in Springville, Dimmock, in my county, so maybe they're processing it and then bringing that processed water to the basin. It's not clear, though. Yeah, you have to read more.
We want to bring you super concentrated frack waste. What could be the problem?
No, I don't know if they're saying that, but...
Anyway, the whole thing's kind of weird. But you gave testimony, and that was good. And
I gave testimony. We were allowed to speak for 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes. And I spoke about the negative impacts in my county in those 3 minutes.
What would you say is the ratio between the speakers?
Most of the speakers were for a ban, a complete ban, and for no water to be exchanged for fracking at all in the basin.
So okay, we're gonna wrap it up. Let me see if I can do a little, bring up some kind of music to close the show. Thanks again to my special guest Vera Scroggins for coming on the show, and so I hope we had at least some viewers on the live stream. We'll see soon enough, and tune in. Be sure to subscribe on my YouTube channel, and if you want to make a donation, you can go to let me bring up the link for that. If you stand by 1 second, because I work in the public interest, and I can't do this without your support. So the link is tinyurl.com. I can't see what I'm doing. Let's here we go, tinyurl.com. Donate to Bill Houston. So please, if you feel so moved to support my work and to support this show, be sure to donate. That takes you to my PayPal account. I'm going to try to call it up really quick so you can see it. But that's the link, tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Houston. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast channel on YouTube. And thanks again to to my guest, Vera Scroggins, and thanks to all the viewers out there, and we'll see you next time.
Are we off now?
Yeah, I think the mics are off. Just do a fade to black. Stop recording. Stop.